I had an interaction at the gym today that really made me think about things, about how I handled it, about how we as a society deal with things, and what rules, standards, expectations, and leadership means. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? It's Morgan Houston, aka Whiskey Mo. I fumbled on that word, but that's okay. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're going to be talking about something that has been bugging me a little bit in many instances, and I think that it's something that has to tie in with a question that I get a lot about leadership, about how I can become a leader, even in the ranks and everything. And this is really just a thing that I think that we as human beings can deal with. And so, what did this stem like? I'm fresh from the gym. Right. I haven't even showered. I literally walked in the door about 10 minutes ago, set all this up. And what happened? So I get to the gym. I had been watching my soccer team lose. I was like, I'm going to go work out. So I walk in. The gym is sitting in a couple of different sections. There's one that has some racks for some Olympic lifts. And I walk in there and I see a couple of young men who are in there, and they're shirtless. And I haven't necessarily been having the best of couple of days and weeks. My mental health was struggling a little bit. And so in a moment of uncontrolled frustration, I mumbled, or what I thought mumbled, "Put your fucking shirts on." Now, it came out louder than I intended it, and they clearly heard it. And as I am getting ready to walk in, I put my bag down. I need to go take a leak. They waved me down, and they were very polite, and they said, "Hey, is it all right if we leave our shirts on?" I said, "Hey guys, you guys kind of do what you got to do, but just remember the rules of the gym are that you can't have a shirt off. Like, you have to have something over the top." And they tried to explain it. They said, "Hey, we're here early. We're not hitting anyone." I'm like, "I get that, guys. I'm an early morning riser too, but those are the rules." And so I'm assuming that they thought that I was going to go to the gym management, which, I mean, in this case, this is a gym at a university. The people who work there, especially on the weekends, are students. Like, what are they going to do? There are a couple of girls that worked at the front desk, and they were, they probably wouldn't have had a lot of authority. But I wasn't going to go rat them out. I went to the restroom, and then I came back and I started warming up. I got in. Today was a back and by day, so I started doing lat pull downs. And as I put on a song by Impending Doom, War Music, which go check it out, awesome song. I'll put a link in the description. I started thinking about why this had bothered me, right? And I think about an old supervisor I had when I was a young airman. He was a staff sergeant. And this is a saying that is very popular in the military, but especially around, SOF, Special Operation Forces, and the adjacent communities. What you walk past is what you accept. What does that mean? Basically, the bare minimum is it's your job to enforce the rules, no matter what level you're at, right? So if you see a piece of garbage laying on the ground and you decide to walk past it, that means that you accept that the standard is garbage on the ground. If you see someone who's not doing the right thing and you don't fix it, you accept that as the standard, right? And for me, that was one of the things that bothered me about this. And I really could have handled myself better. I'm free to admit that. I was pretty blunt. And I'm sure they didn't deserve that. They're just a couple of young men trying to better themselves. And, sometimes it's really easy for us to fall into that habit of it's not a big deal, right? Well, they got done. I was in between sets, and I walked up to them, and I shook their hands. I said, "Gentlemen, I'm really sorry if I came across really harsh. But let me explain why this matters to me. We as men," I said, because I'm talking to a couple of young men, "are expected to be exemplars of our communities, to set the standards. And that's really important for me, in that if we decide to place comfort ahead of the rules and the standards, we're not doing our job." And they were like, "You know what, we respect that. Thank you." And I said, "Guys, I'm really sorry. I was rough. I appreciate you guys coming to ask me. That was really well done." And they were like, "Yeah, you have a good lift, man." I said, "You too." Right. And I hope if you guys ever see this, guys from the MAV Center on May 4th, 2025, good job, gentlemen. You guys really upheld, a professional standard that I really respect, because I was not at first. But this is the kind of thing that I think that we should be doing, right? it's really hard for us to understand where we can be as leaders. What does that mean to be a leader? A leader doesn't mean that you get to tell people what to do, right? That's a boss. That's a manager. Managers tell people what to do. What leaders do is they set the example, right? They're the ones that you emulate. They're the ones that you want to be like. And we as leaders have to set the standard. We have to exemplify the standard that we expect from our people. And that people can be anywhere. It could be anywhere from, I have one student that works for me, so I try and set the standard for what I expect from her. You know, I am a member of a community in the library, so I set the standard there, what I take seriously and what I don't. We do it in our communities, right? I have this conversation with my family all the time about what we should expect, you know, and this isn't trying to get away from, like, there are some times where rules or laws or anything may be immoral or unethical or whatever. But, you know, when it comes down to the basics, I think one of the things that you hear pretty frequently is people complain about, you know, kind of the degradation of society. But I honestly put that on the people who are complaining, because what are you doing to fix it? What are you doing to uphold the standard? I am doing my level best to set the standard that I want young men and women to exemplify. I am around, you know, college age students all the time. That's my job. I'm a college librarian. So, like, I'm very cognizant of the impact that I can have on these young men and women. And I think that we would be better served as a society if we stopped bitching and if we started upholding, right? And we don't need to be jerks about it. We don't need to be jackasses. You can pull someone aside gently. You know, there's also another adage of, you know, praise in public, criticize in private. You know, and that's all it was. And, like, I should have been better. Like, this is a teachable moment for me. I could have been much better in the way I did. I could have walked down and said, "Hey, gentlemen," instead of hollering in what I thought was a mumble. I could have walked down there and said, "Hey, gentlemen, I appreciate that you guys are trying to be better and that you're getting strong and you guys are looking good, but here's the standard. And let me explain why." Right. And they did it. Like I said, I think they handled themselves way better than I did in that situation. So good on them. But we as older folks, as leaders in our community, or at least if we want to be seen as leaders, we need to do our level best to uphold the standards that we see, be it legal, moral, ethical. Now, there will be a discrepancy. Like, there's going to be some people who see things that are immoral that I see as moral, or unethical and ethical. And that's okay. And there's that gray area that I think that we as rational humans can have a debate about some of these things. There are some things that I would say that I will never have a discussion about, but that's a discussion for another day. But that's my thoughts. I hope that you guys learned something for this. Or if you guys have a thought about this, please get into the comments. Let me know. I think that we can be better. I have a lot of respect for the young people these days, and I think that they're going to be a lot better than we ever were if we give them the opportunity. Until next time, y'all, be well.